Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at something that I actually have not done yet. Today we're going to take a look at my Shundo Swampert in the Open Master League. Before I was actually trying to run a no legendary team and it completely went horrible. You maybe saw my short as well for it where I just hard countered every time. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at another Pokemon that you can at least get a little bit easier. Of course, the backline is not as accessible as a Swampert, but I have my level 51 Shundo Swampert here right now. Let me know in the comment section how many Shundos do you have, how many 100% shiny Pokemon do you have. I actually have 5 and none of them are wild caught. Like I have I think 3 from X, 1 from trade and 1 from Go Battle League rewards, which was a Shundo Mewtwo, which was really nice. But yeah, like this is one of my Shundos and definitely one of the coolest ones. But yeah, we're going to have a team here that definitely does make a lot of sense. Like this team was working out super well. We're going to have here the Xerneas, we're going to have the Zacian as a safe swap, and we're going to have our Swampert in the lead. Swampert very good against the Fire-type Pokemon, which is basically in the current time only the Ho-Oh, even though definitely Heatran is underrated. I might make a video about Heatran as well soon. But yeah, Ho-Oh gets basically destroyed by the Swampert fairly easy. We're going to have the safe swap of Zacian, which is going to have Wild Charge, which is going to bait out the Ho-Oh. And as well as you're going to have Play Rough, which is going to be very decent in a lot of cases as well. Here, for example, against Nextdoor, of course, you won't have the close combat, but usually they're going to shield just expecting you to have close combat, which I don't have in this case, but it's totally fine. And then we're going to have the Xerneas in the back that actually has close combat, but also going to allow to not face a Ho-Oh, which is really nice to see as well. So like this team works out super well. Had a very positive run with this, even though I got kind of hard-walled a ton of times. Like literally, there were so many games that I just completely got hard-walled as well. But still went positive with this, and honestly, I was surprised on how strong Swampert actually is. I didn't expect that this Pokemon would be able to do a lot in this current meta, but just Mudshot, Side Strike, and Earthquake literally carry this Pokemon all around. Like there's only really one weakness for this Pokemon. I don't know if this game is in there as well. I encountered one Zerroot, but I did like an entire day with this team, so don't know if it's in there or not. I had to cut out like half of the battles, of course. But yeah, other than Zerroot, there's basically no grass type really available for the Master League. And of course, Zerroot is something that's fairly difficult to get unless you are a hardcore grinder or you use some other methods to get this one. So here we're going to actually see an amazing catch by me, really nice for me, as I will be able to now go for a Moonblast against the opponent's Dragonite, getting a ton of damage, not getting the knockout, but it's totally fine as one more Geomancer is all it takes to take down the Mewtwo, and our Xerneas was able to win this game for us. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have a Zacian in the lead. We're going to see now the damage of Hydro Cannon. Honestly, it's not that bad. Like, I thought it would be a little bit more against this Pokemon though, but it's still fine. We see here already does around like 40% against the opponent's Zacian, allowing me to swap into my own Zacian, which definitely can take those moves fairly easy. It's going to be the Wild Charge, and we're going to get out the Metagross, which is amazing for me because Metagross is going to be an answer for my Xerneas in the back, and I also have, of course, my very good answer for it with the Swampert in the lead, which I can align then, or I can just knock them out, but no, I'm just going to get the shield advantage here. And now I'm going to try to go for the Hydro Cannon right now. I can take an Earthquake, so I'm going to shield this move still up. Should have most likely let this move go through. I'm going to go ahead and go for an Undercharge here because I thought that they wouldn't be at the move yet. And this will allow me to get a little bit more of energy here, which is going to be amazing for me as you now get out the opponent's Dragonite. And that's going to be a little bit of a trickier one, especially as the opponent going to have a little bit of extra energy already on the Zacian. But we will see that they're going to go ahead and go for their next Wild Charge immediately. So they should be out of energy right now, allowing me to go for a close combat right now. But still going to be a tough one. Can we still win this one? It's going to be a close one. I will be able to go for another close combat right now. But like this, we're going to be at -4 defense. And honestly, I'm most likely, no, actually there was nothing I can do here. I'm going to see that they're going to go for the Dragon Claw. Never mind, I can still knock them out because they didn't go for the Superpower. They had to go for the Superpower and knock us out. Dragon Claw was not enough, and like this, we will be able to win the game. But I think even if they went for the Superpower, I would have been able to win this game, as they would have been debuffed and Hydro Cannon still would have done some decent damage then. But yeah, let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have a Mewtwo in the lead, which is going to be an awkward matchup for us. You could actually argue to stay in with your Swampert in the lead because you outspeed the opponent. You're going to be able to get the second Hydro Cannon before the opponent gets their second Side Strike, forcing a shield from the opponent, which might be nice. But what I'm going to do here right now might be a mistake. I'm going to go ahead and go for a 2 shield or down here basically with the Zacian, but I'm going to get a ton of energy, forcing the opponent to most likely invest at least one shield back here. Let's see what comes in. It's going to be the own Xerneas here. That's going to be an interesting one now, because this Pokemon can definitely take one player off here, and I'm going to swap out now immediately to get out the Lugia. This is going to be an awkward one. I think I have a move start still onto my Zacian, hopefully, so this might come in clutch later on, but it's going to be a difficult one to do. And honestly, I can say something as well. This is already a meme on my channel because I always get debuffed by Moonblast. I don't know if it's in there. I definitely got debuffed by another Moonblast as well. Maybe it was this Xerneas. But I played now 25 games with my own Xerneas, and I didn't get a single debuff. Like, there is not gonna be a single debuff from Moonblast in this video, even though I went for at least like 20 Moonblasts or something in total. It was absolutely wild. Like, why does everybody get the debuff against me and I never get anything from my own Xerneas? It is absolutely wild. But here we have to hope that we can farm them all the way down. I actually think that this was the one that debuffs me. Let's see. Yes, of course it was. It was actually this one, which is kind of funny because I know that I was like curious if this Moonblast would have knocked them out if I wasn't debuffed, but like with a debuff, they're definitely going to survive just barely there. Curious if I would have been able to get the knockout without the debuff, but they're going to be able to go for the Moonblast there anyway and going to knock me, not the Moonblast, but for the Aeroblast, and they're going to knock me out there. So this was awkward, but that's basically how it always goes for me. I actually haven't got really a Moonblast debuff at all for ages, which is why my opponent gets like basically every, I don't know, 5 Moonblasts or whatever, they get the debuff. It's just so unfair. But yeah, let's take a look at the next game here. We're going to see an Ancient Power, no, and the Flamethrower actually coming in already. And you see me lagging there a little bit, which is okay. I don't think, okay, I actually gave them 1 free fast move, which hopefully doesn't matter too much. We're going to get the knockout here, and we're going to also get the Play Rough off against the opponent's Giratina, which is going to be nice. As that's going to force a shield from the opponent, I didn't think that the lag there really hurt me at all, so that's totally okay. I'm going to be able to shield up the move from the opponent. It's going to be a Shadow Ball, and they most likely want to swap out eventually here right now, but no, they're going to stay in, allowing me to go for a charge move here. This is going to get shielded. Of course, no debuff here as always, and now we're going to have to shield another time here, as of course our Xerneas is going to be our best answer for Giratina. They're going to swap out into a Dialga, allowing me to go for a close combat, and at this point of time, I can go ahead, swap into my Swampert after this one, storing 1 charge move, go for the Hydro Cannon. This should knock out the opponent's Dialga, or basically we can go, actually this is perfect. This is really perfect here because we're gonna be super low now with our Swampert. The opponent doesn't get any farm really. I can still go for the Hydro Cannon, and even though they're already in range for the Moonblast here, we're definitely going to be able to knock them out now, as we will see the Moonblast connecting against the opponent, and this is going to be a good game. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter Swampert against Dialga, a great lead matchup, and this is actually a very funny one. But a lot of times my opponent made great plays and caught moves, so I was a little bit hesitant of throwing my move immediately here. This is just an Iron Head allowing me to, okay, they're gonna go ahead and go into the Lugia, and I make a huge mistake here. You should always go into the Zacian. But like for me, when the opponent basically tries to swap out, my main reaction is just trying to go into the Xerneas because it's like basically my closer. But for Lugia, it does make way more sense to go into the Zacian. Having the super effective Snarl as well as the super effective Wild Charge is just way better than what I have here on my Xerneas, sadly, but it's totally fine. We can still go ahead. I should have went for the Moonblast most likely, but this is only a Sky Attack, so we are going to be okay. And I can go for a close combat now, because if they go back into their Dialga, they're going to have to still go for a charge move anyway. This is going to be enough to knock them out, but they're going to have a Kyogre in the back. And at this point of time, I'm going to swap out because it's going to be a tough one to still come back from this one. It's actually really bad for me. Also, I should have got the fast move through there, which I didn't, which is also really awkward. So, we're going to have to go for 1 Wild Charge right now, but the opponent's already another charge move, so it's going to be also a little bit tricky here, as we're going to now see that they're going to let this move go through. So I'm going to let this move go through. And I have a ton of energy on my Swampert, allowing me to go for Hydro Cannon spam against the Kyogre, which is going to be so nice. We can knock them out here. We can go for the Earthquake, and our Shundo Swampert is taking down the opponent's the opponent's Dialga there. As you're going to see, another Shundo variant of Swampert, which is kind of funny because this Pokemon is super rare. I haven't seen it at all before, and now we actually encounter another Swampert against us, and it's also Shundo. It also has the best buddy ribbon, but it's not best buddied right now for the opponent, so they're most likely going to have something like a Dialga in the back, which I would guess because you're forced to use a best buddy ribbon on Dialga if you want to play it. So here we're going to now see the Hydro Cannon coming through for me, which is going to do some decent damage, as we will now get the next one off, because we of course have the best body ribbon. We will be able to win a CMP tie, and yes, they have a Dialga in the back. So that was some educated guess here, basically by seeing that the opponent has the best body ribbon on their first Pokemon, but they don't have it equipped. You can already tell that they're most likely going to have a Dialga in the back, as we're now going to be able to go for a Wild Charge. This is a little bit of a risky move, and definitely not a smart move, because I would have been able to still survive an Iron Head, I think, without this. So this was not smart at all, but the opponent gonna go for the Iron Head. I will be able to go for a Hydro Cannon here right now, forcing either the shield or the knockout. Let's see what we're going to get here right now. We're gonna get the shield, which is totally fine for me, as the opponent going to swap out in the same time as we're going to swap out into our Xerneas, and they're actually going to forfeit. I'm fairly certain they actually still had some chance of winning this game there, but I think they thought that they had a move start on my Swampert, so they decided to forfeit this game. We're going to go up now against a Metagross, and they again, I make a mistake here. This is the same mistake that I did earlier. I should have just went into my Zacian and have Wild Charge. Why did I not go into my Zacian? It's just like habit to go into your closer if the opponent swaps out. This is what you usually should do, but like it's not always the case, so here definitely a misplay by me. Actually a misplay that is really, really bad for me, so let's take a look here. They're going to be able to still outspeed me to the next one, which I didn't expect. I thought I would be able to still go for another fast move, but I wasn't. So I'm forced to use a shield there, and I also still am forced to go for a close combat as far as I know. So that's going to be really bad for me, just because I misplayed and went into the wrong Pokemon here. But the opponent goes straight for a charge move with their Metagross, which I find interesting, as they now swap into their Dragonite, and they basically got completely hardwalled by us here right now. Double Fairy backline right now is so strong in the current meta, honestly. Like, super overpowered Xerneas plus Zacian backline. You can have different kind of leads with this one, but here right now we will be able to just take the superpower, farm them down, have moves stored for the Metagross, even go for a Wild Charge here, which is going to get some damage, put them into Hydro Cannon range as well, as they can even go for another one, and honestly there's nothing the opponent can do right now, and they're going to decide to let this move go through as well, letting us win the game, and we can move on to the next game. We're now going to encounter a Groudon in the lead. Amazing lead for us again. We're going to be able to go for the Hydro Cannon. Let's see how much damage this actually does, because I'm curious. It definitely does not knock them out, but it only does around 60%. I thought it would do way more, but of course it's a legendary Pokemon against starter Pokemon here, which has way less CP, and the opponent gonna go for a bait first, and they're gonna go for the Precious Blade second, so they're going to have now a double shield advantage, which is really bad for me. So I decided to undercharge, but they decided to just go ahead and use a shield now, but then they decide to let this next move go through, and I have no idea why they did this. Like, why? Like, there's no reason for this. It doesn't make any sense at all. But at least we're going to be able to go ahead and go into our Zacian, which will have Play Rough, and also will be able to get some damage onto them and still two-shot the opponent, which is nice. Of course, Close Combat would have been better here, but I also make another mistake here, I think. I could have went for the Play Rough, and I don't think I'll get to 2 Wild Charges here, sadly. Wild Charge coming through does get the shield, but does not get the knockout, and the opponent would be forced to go for Draco Meteor right now, so it's down to our Xerneas. Can Xerneas win this game here right now? They're going to swap out into their Tyranitar, and they are double weak to close combat, and so we can say goodbye to the opponent here right now, as Dialga as well. Oh, they actually, I think that they ran the team that I showcased before with Tyranitar, which is funny. So maybe it was actually a viewer. If you're a viewer, definitely shouts to you. This was kind of funny, because it's definitely the team that I showcased before with my own Tyranitar, Shundo Tyranitar. Of course, a double fairy backline is very difficult for us team. We basically hardwalled them again. But yeah, we're going to have now here the matchup against the Dragonite. I tried to undercharge it a little bit, was not enough, and we now get out the Ho-Oh. This is of course a horrible matchup for our Xerneas, but we will be able to go for one Moonblast, and maybe, just maybe, we get the debuff. Of course we don't, because it's our Xerneas, and our Xerneas never gets the debuff. So we're gonna go for another Moonblast, and we're going to not get a debuff again. The opponent gonna go for their charge move, going to be the Sacred Fire, and honestly they would be able to get to a Moonblast, not a Moonblast, a Brave Bird one before here, but they just decided to not do that. Let me go for a Hydro Cannon and let the Dialga just go down there by forfeiting. I don't know why they did this. I could have went for a Brave Bird immediately there and still maybe had a chance by getting a shield from me, but I don't know why they did this like this, but it's totally fine for me. As you're gonna go into the final game, horrible lead for us, but we can now go ahead and go for a Play Rough against the incoming Dialga. We're definitely gonna get out of this matchup with a shield advantage, as we can go for another Play Rough here right now. They might want to let this go through, who knows? No, they do not. And now we're gonna see that I can even go for a wild charge. And they might expect that this is going to be a close combat, so they're going to actually use another shield. After a horrible lead, we were able to get a 2-shield advantage now with our Xerneas. They of course have a ton of energy and we're going to be forced to use a shield here again. But it's going to be fine for us, as we're now going to get a ton of energy against the opponent, can go for the Hydro Cannon right now, and I can swap out into my Xerneas, and as long as they don't have a Metagross in the back, we're going to be fine right now. I'm going to let this move go through, hoping that we can still survive it. It's going to be the Shadow Ball, which is a very good for us, as we now have an Earthquake stored as well, and we will find out what they're going to have in the back very shortly, as this Giratina are going to go down, and this is going to be also it for today's video, as they're going to have a Steel type in the back, they're going to decide to forfeit, and honestly, the Shundo Swampert was really nice to play, so definitely, if you have a good Swampert, try it out. Check out the videos on the screen right now, they are very interesting most likely. One is for the global Go Fest and I ranked all the spawns, and the other one is for a hidden event which is coming up for Pokemon Go very soon afterward, which is going to be amazing as well. So check those videos out, see you then, bye bye.